Today we'll be giving a gameplay overview and review of the game, Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails. Hi everyone, I'm Mandi, the board gaming pinup girl.
I'm Tracy, the gaming maven.
I'm Stephane, the games teacher.
Looking for the setup? Trying to see what we think of the game? Well, click on the timestamp below.
We'd love to hear from you, so leave us a comment, let us know how we're doing, and subscribe to our channel if you want to be notified when we post new content.
So we've got Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails all set up and ready to go, so let's get to it. The objective is to complete your ticket and tour ticket cards, as well as gaining points by creating harbors and completing lots of rail and sail routes.
Here we have the components for Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails. To start with, we have our game board, which is double-sided. You see Ottawa, my hometown, actually not my hometown, but where I live currently on the map here. And the other side of the board shows a view of the world, which you're not going to see the whole thing of, but I'm just flipping it over there to show you. We have components in the 5 player colors. These are your harbors. Each player gets 3 of them in the yellow, blue, green, red, and black. The score markers in the player colors. We have 2 sets of ticket cards, one for the Great Lakes side and one for the Gloria Mundi side. And over here we have our train cards and our ship cards. And then we have the trains and ships, again, in the 5 player colors. We're going to play with the Great Lakes side of the board, and I've just got half the board showing here, just for the simple reason of trying to save on table real estate. For the setup, each player will take their scoring marker and put it on the 0 space of the scoring track. Then each player is dealt 2 train cards, 2 ship cards, and they'll also get 5 ticket cards, of which they'll be able to keep 3 or more. They have to keep at least 3, so they can discard up to 2 of them. And then they'll look at their train and ship tokens. They'll get 32 ship tokens and 33 train tokens, and from that pool they have to keep 50 tokens. Then finally they will get their 3 harbors, which they'll use to place on harbor points on the map. The train cards and ship cards will be placed as decks on the outside, and will reveal 3 of each, so 3 ships and 3 trains, and set the rest of the ticket cards off to the side of the board. Now we're ready to go. So on their turn, a player has 5 possible action choices. The first one would be to take travel cards, either from the face-up display, or they can draw a card from the top of the pile. Normally they will draw 2 travel cards. However, if the first card that they're taking is a face-up wild card, then that'll be the only card that they can take this turn. And then they will refill from either the train or the ship decks as they wish. However, realizing that the wild cards only appear in the train deck. So if you're looking for more wild cards, you would probably want to refill from the train deck. Route. So in this case, black is going to claim this 7-space train route. You can see that they will play a number of cards. So we have 1 wild, 2 wild, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 7 black trains. And they will place their train tokens. And having claimed that route, they will score points accordingly. We can see from the display here that 7 spaces score 18 points. So yellow will get 18 points, bringing them to 76. Similarly, you can also score for or claim shipping routes. You can tell they're shipping routes because they have these oval spaces, as opposed to the train routes, which are rectangular. So in this case, yellow is going to claim this 3-space shipping route between Kingston and Montreal using these 2 cards. So they're 2 yellow ship cards. However, this yellow ship card has 2 shipping icons on it, which means it counts as 2 spaces. It counts for 2 spaces. So with these 2 cards, yellow can claim that shipping route. Or red, actually, in this case, will claim that shipping route. and score points accordingly. 3 spaces gets red 4 points. In this case, yellow has decided that they do not have the correct mix of ships versus trains. They want to get more ships because they feel that they have more options for shipping spaces. And so they're going to exchange train tokens for ship tokens on a 1-for-1 basis. And we took 2 train tokens to get 2 additional shipping tokens. However, each exchange gives them a -1 penalty on their scoring. So in this case, yellow will actually lose 2 points because they exchanged 2 tokens. The final action you can take is to build a harbor. To build a harbor, you need 4 cards, and they must necessarily be a pair of train cards. We have 2 green train cards here, and a pair of shipping cards. We have 1 red ship and a wild card, which counts as a ship card. All 4 cards have to feature this anchor symbol in order to use them to purchase a harbor. So having played those cards, red can now place a harbor on Kingston. The final action that people can take, and I forgot to mention this earlier, was to draw tickets from the ticket deck. They will draw 4 tickets and choose 1 to keep, or at least 1 to keep. They can keep more than 1, but in this case, yellow's going to choose to keep only that 1 ticket. The game will end when 1 player has 6 or fewer remaining ship or train tokens total. At that point, each player will look at their accumulated ticket cards, and for ticket cards that they did not complete, they will lose points. So here we have 6 plus 7 is 13, so yellow is going to lose 13 points and go back to 61. Complete. Here we have Syracuse to Montreal and Chicago to Montreal, which are worth 5 and 16 points respectively. And we can see that in fact yellow has completed both routes. So that'll be a total of 21 points for yellow. We'll go from 61 to 82. And then finally each player will score for their harbors. As you can see on the game board here, harbors score 10 points if they have 1 route leading into them, 20 points if they have 2 routes, or 30 points if they have 3 or more routes. So the 2 cards that I just scored were into Montreal, and so it has 2 routes leading into it, so that player would get 20 additional points, which would bring yellow to a total of 102, and they would end up with a total score of 102. Once all the scoring is complete, the player with the highest point total wins the game. The world map features several different mechanics over the Great Lakes map, and we'll go over those now. In initial setup on the world map, each player will get 3 train cards and 7 ship cards to form their starting hand. They will also choose from a pool of 50 ship tokens and 25 train tokens to get a total of 60 playing pieces. The world map also features train routes, which are paired train routes. So each space of that train route must be fulfilled by or paid for by a pair of train cards of the same color. In this case, I have 2 yellow and 2 more yellow, and then a red and a wild, which will allow me to place 3 train tokens between Lahore and Beijing. The map also features routes that traverse the outside edge of the map. So from the left edge of the map, it'll go to the right side, and etc. So you see a route here, and there's an indication here that it connects to Valparaiso, which is on the other side of the map. Finally, the final difference with the world side is that it features what are called tour tickets. Tour tickets are special in that you must connect the tour in this exact configuration. So in this example, we have going from Casablanca to Al Kabira, and then from Al Kabira to Tehran. So we need to have routes in each of those spaces, and if we do, we'll then score 9 points. If, however, we fail to score them, that'll get us a 15-point penalty. So you want to be careful not to take too many of these and not successfully complete them.
So now we're ready to give a review of Ticket to Ride, Rails, and Sails. So guys, what'd you think?
I'm still like the Ticket to Ride, so the Ticket to Ride, I liked it, and I liked the little twist they added with the boats. Made it a little more interesting.
I enjoyed the game. I did feel it ran a little long for my tastes.
So I am not a huge Ticket to Ride fan. I know. So for me, it wasn't bad. I actually think I enjoyed this one more than the others, but we'll get into that a little bit more as we talk about specifics. So first, let's look at, or talk about, art and theme. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I particularly like that they put Ottawa on the map. Thank you. Not just that, but Kingston, like all these little towns in this area.
Perry Sound. Who's ever heard of Perry Sound? I don't even know where Perry Sound is.
I know. So it was nice to see our area where we're from, because people sometimes forget that we're Canadian. So it was nice to have some Canadian cities in there. Ottawa, woo! Nation's capital, people. It was there. So I thought that was quite nice, and the color really stood out on the board, and even on the other side. So I like the fact that they were opposite. So it was like the really vibrant greens, and it was maybe just the colors were a little bit more cooler toned on the other side. So you could sense that there was they were different. The pieces, it's your typical plastic and that, but we'll get into that for components. Anything else about the art you guys want to talk about?
Well, especially on the Great Lakes side, like you had a lot of beautiful art. You kind of had like the fish in the water and the bear and stuff like that. But I also like how they made it very obvious which ones were the boats, where the boats go and where the trains go. So it was very clear. It's easy to understand where you had to put your various pieces. There's no confusion with that, I found.
Where was the beaver? I didn't see a beaver.
I don't think there's a beaver.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, there was a squirrel. There's a squirrel on the one side.
Close
but
enough.
good enough, whatever.
I enjoyed the art on the train and ship cards, seeing all the different types of train cars and different types of sailing ships and cargo ships. So for me, that appealed to me quite a bit.
Okay, nice. So I kind of got ahead of myself here, but components. Let's talk about that. What did you guys think of the quality of the components?
Pretty typical of all the other Ticket to Ride games. The pieces are solid. Like, you don't have to worry about the pieces falling over. They tend to fit well. It tends to look nice altogether. It's still those kind of bright colors that I find sometimes a little shocking, but they stand out. Like, you can't possibly miss that yellow. So it's great. They were great. Like I said, I love the art. The components of the cards felt pretty traditional with their nice smoothness and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt that the quality of the components was good. The cardstock is, sufficiently thick. The plastic pieces are light. I'd like if they had a bit more heft, like the 10th anniversary edition of Ticket to Ride, for instance. Would be nice if it had a bit more detail, but that would drive the cost of the game up as well. So maybe something to do in a collector's edition.
Because this little game's already I think it's like 80 Canadian plus tax?
About that, which, the average Ticket to Ride is closer to 55, 60 anyway, so you have considerably more plastic pieces. So I get it. It is pricey, but you do get a lot more pieces.
So just touching on what you were saying with adding maybe higher quality trains and boats and whatnot, I think after that it would be bordering over 100, and I don't know if anyone's going to pay that, but maybe I'm wrong. Component-wise, I agree. Overall, it's exactly what you were saying. I think they were fine for what the game was. I do find the game a little expensive, though, for that price, but
it's a lot of plastic.
Maybe that's what it is. And also Days of Wonder, I know, is known, or Asmodee, they're known for high quality components.
Yes, Days of Wonder doesn't usually skimp, like on the actual boards themselves, that board, you're always worried about double-sided board, and it's in multiple flips, like it's 8 pieces folded over. I don't think that thing's ever going to tear. Like, you have to really work on that thing to tear it, so it's going to hold up.
Exactly. Game mechanics. I know this was different, so...
Yeah, so this version incorporated a couple of different game mechanics. First of all, you've got ships. You didn't have ships before. Second of all, the harbors, which allow you to score points depending on how many tickets you have coming into the harbor. And then the paired train routes, where you can lay out or pay for a train route with pairs of the same color cards for each space of the route, and they can be different pairs across the entire route. So those are the 3 new mechanics, and every version of Ticket to Ride, they seem to add something new to keep it a little fresh and interesting. So it's no different here. I thought they worked pretty well together. They did allow especially the harbors allowed for a lot of end game scoring if you were careful.
Which is nice.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I was never able to do it. Someone over here was able to kick butt with the harbors.
That's the only thing I'm good at in that game is that. I'm like, let me just get those out and we're good to go. So I think the game mechanics, and I've only played the original, I think it was like the 10th anniversary edition, but just the original board. I found the mechanics, there was a lot. So if this was geared towards anybody who was newer to the series, probably not wise for you to play because you may find a lot going on, you know, with the boats and with the trains, and then you got 2 sets of cards happening, and then you can actually pick from the different deck and fill from the it would be a lot. So I get it. They're trying to, you know, provide a bit of diversity in the board and in the game. It could be a bit confusing.
Yeah, definitely for someone who's newer to the games. As someone who originally played Europe as my very first Ticket to Ride, it has a lot of the flavor of Europe. Now, when you have train stations, and so you have harbors, and you also have, you have to go through tunneled areas, so you do have to play extra cards to be able to get through that area. So it had a lot of familiar feel, the world side to that. So there was that. The boats for me was about the newest mechanic that was different, as well as some of the cards which have like anchors.
Yeah.
That was a little bit confusing because some had like double boats. You had to really pay attention to your cards. Some had double boats. You want to put the harbors out, you need the anchors. So it got a little fiddly for me there, but not enough to really make me dislike the game because I really do enjoy Ticket to Ride.
And then they had that where you can go over across to the other side of the board, like end on one end, come out on the other. So that's on the other side of the board. Is that the world?
The world side.
World side. So that's something that's a little bit different. I noticed that in another game, Clank, that we were playing there, and they had the same sort of idea. So seeing a little bit of that. Did I cover everything? I feel like I'm missing something.
Well, similar game, but we've got a whole bunch of Ticket to
I
Ride.
was gonna say, like, how do you
pick any of the Ticket to Rides? There's so many of them.
I mean, train games.
There's another train game that I played many years ago called Transamerica.
Yes.
It's got a map of the U.S., and in that one you have cities that you have to connect, but everyone uses the same rail network.
Right.
So as long as the total rail network connects all your cities, you're good. So it has a similar feel to Ticket to Ride, but maybe a little, it's not cooperative, but you know, you have to kind of figure out, oh, I can use that track, but then if I do that, somebody else is going to connect. So it reminds me a bit of Transamerica.
Okay, so I think I've heard, I haven't played that one, but I have heard, I know of it, exactly. So overall opinion of the game, or what did you guys think overall?
Like I said, it is a high price point, but I love the Ticket to Ride, so it's a good one for me.
I enjoyed the game. I did feel it was a little long for my tastes. I do like Ticket to Ride. I don't like my Ticket to Ride to take multiple hours. I'd like to play it in about an hour. And this was a little long. The only other thing I would say is it's probably not a good intro game to the series for someone who's not ever played Ticket to Ride before.
Agreed.
But barring those two things, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I would play it again.
So, as I said in the beginning, I'm not a huge Ticket to Ride fan. I don't know, it doesn't grab me. At first, I thought, ooh, okay, this one could be the one. And as I played it a few more times, it was okay. It's not a game I think that I would own. I mean, I don't own any now, so this hasn't changed my mind. I just found some of the stuff, as you were saying before, a little fiddly, and it didn't need to happen. Like some of the cards, the little anchor symbols that you were talking about, and the double boat. Like, it's a lot to take in. Don't get me wrong, we play a lot of Euro games, worker placement games, which are quite busy, but it has a nice flow. This one I find could be a little, disjointed sometimes. So that kind of threw me. So overall, for me, it's not a game that I would own, but again, it's not something that I own now.
Yeah.
Somebody who wants a bit more complexity in the Ticket to Ride, you may enjoy this. Again, you just might find it a little fiddly in some parts. So overall, for me, it's like a, I don't know. I think for you guys, you're giving it 2 thumbs, and you're giving it, there you go.
There we go.
That's just me. All right. So that's it for now. We'll see you next time. Bye. Follow us on social media.